All right, guys, so we're moving on to section 2A, and then we have one more section in this chapter, which will probably, I probably will add another section from chapter 3 in there too, but we'll see how time goes. Anyway, this section is about, it's actually titled The Reciprocal of a Real Number, but that doesn't make much sense when you see the material that's in that section. So really, I've retitled it, and it's about canceling stuff from top to bottom to make for a very crude title. That's pretty much what we're doing though. Before we start, I want to go through a few review problems, and then we're going to go start the new stuff. So the first one, I've written it out already, so you might have to pause the video to copy this down. But let's go ahead and define the unknowns and write an equation for this consecutive integers problem. It says the sum of two consecutive integers, so there's two of them, so you have to do this. And remember, an integer would be like -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so the first one is always n, or if you want to use x or some other letter, that's fine. It says they're consecutive. That means one right after the other. There's no even or odd. So if this is n, the next consecutive one would be n plus 1. Because consecutive, an example would be, if n were 5, this one would be 6. 5 and 6 are consecutive integers. Or 7 and 8, or 9 and 10. Or -5 and -4. Okay, now let's go ahead and translate. Once you do the unknowns, you want to read the statement left to right and translate as you go. It says the sum of two consecutive integers. That means their sum. n plus 1 is 2n plus 1, right? I'm adding my like terms. Next word is equals 5 less than, remember less than comes at the end, so I'm going to put that out here, their product. That means these guys, their product. Product means multiply. So n times n plus 1 is how you write the product, and then we've got 5 less than that. So this would be my equation. Don't worry about solving these. I think the most important thing is that you can define them and set up your equation. Okay, the second review problem I want to do is, let's go 5 minus 8 minus 4. All right, now you want to keep change in both places, plus negative. Notice I'm keeping that on the outside of the parenthesis, plus, oh shoot, I wanted to make this, here, instead of a 4, sorry, let's make that an m. I wanted to make that a variable. But you still want to keep change in both places. Next step, we got to rewrite this without the parenthesis and distributing this negative sign. This negative here is going to change the sign of everything on the inside of the parenthesis. So rewriting gives me 5 plus +8 becomes -8 plus -m becomes +m. Then the last step, you look for like terms. Number adds to number, but numbers cannot add to an m term. So 5 plus -8 is -3 plus m, and that would be my answer. Okay, and then one more quick review. Let's go with -6 times x minus 7. We want to simplify this. Now this is distributing because there's a parenthesis with more than one thing in it, and there's a minus here. So I'm going to keep change right there. Then I want to distribute in this case. -6x plus -6 times -7 is +42. Okay, that would be my answer. now let's go ahead on to the new stuff. Here's the basic idea. If you remember back when we're just going to go through examples. When we were multiplying fractions together, and you had, let's say, 1/5, let's say it's times 35. Okay, that's a whole number, so I'm going to put this one over 1. Remember how we looked on the diagonals to see where you could cancel? That's exactly what's happening in this section, except we're going to add variables to it. Now, you can't cancel ones because nothing's going to change, but on this diagonal, I can divide by 5. So 5 divided by 5 leaves 1. 35 divided by 5 leaves 7. Once you've canceled everything, you multiply straight across the top and straight across the bottom, and so we get a 7. All right, that's what we were doing before. Now, let's add a little bit to that. So we'll make it, they're going to put us some signs in. Negative 80y. Sometimes they use this parenthesis instead of a dot. So you're going to see a lot of parentheses probably. But this means multiplication. So I'm going to put this over 1. Recognize that you're multiplying. I can't simplify the diagonal with the ones, but on the other diagonal, I can divide by 8. Okay, and you know what, even before we start that, because this problem is all multiplication and division, there's no adding or subtracting anywhere. All you need to do is count the number of negative signs you have. So there's 1 in the whole problem. That's an odd number of negatives. And so that's telling me my answer is going to be negative. And the nice thing is now I can just ignore this. I've already dealt with it. So on this diagonal, I'm dividing by 8. 8 divided by 8 is 1. 80 divided by 8 is 10. Now multiplying straight across the top, I get 10y. See, the y is still there. He can't cancel at all. 10y. Now there's a 1 on the bottom, but you don't even need to write that. So it's just negative 10y. Example 3. I'm going to hold off on that one. Let's do this. 1 over x, 5x. Yeah, I'm looking at some of these. You might see something that looks like this. X cannot equal 0. On the problems that have this funny looking x cannot equal 0 thing, you don't have to do anything with it. It's just telling you whenever you have a problem with a variable in the denominator, it's telling you that that variable can never equal 0 because you can never divide by 0. No zeros in denominators, so it just tells you that automatically, but don't worry about that. Now, multiplying here, so I'm going to put this over a 1. On this diagonal, there's an x and an x. Those can cancel, just like, let's say I had 1/4 times 4. Well, 4 and 4 are exactly the same, so they're going to cancel out, right? They're going to divide out and become 1s. It's the same with x's, so I can divide by x, basically. Or you can just think of canceling them out, as long as they're exactly the same. 5 can't cancel with anything, so it's 1 times 5 is 5 on the top, 1 times 1 is 1 on the bottom. So the answer is just 5. Example 4. Okay, let's do this. Wait, I don't want to... Where's this problem? 96. Yeah, we'll use this one. I don't want to do one that you're going to have. Negative 1/8. This is actually a problem in the book, but it's not one that you're going to do. But it's like ones you're going to do. You're going to see one or two that have three things multiplied. But the process is the same. I'm first going to put this over a 1. And let's deal with the negative signs. There's no addition or subtraction in here, so I'm counting negatives, and there's 2. 2 is an even number. Those 2 are going to cancel and make a positive. So really, my answer will be positive, and I can just ignore those 2. Now, as far as reducing, 8 goes into 96 evenly, and so does 12. I know that because I've done this already. Let me see real quick. Yeah, 8 goes into 96 12 times. 12 goes into 96 8 times. I can cancel, if I want to, doesn't matter which one I cancel. Let's say I want to cancel the 12 and the 96. Anything from the bottom can cancel with anything on the top, even if you skip over something in the middle. So I'm going to cancel the 12 with the 96. 12 divided by 12 is 1. 96 divided by 12 is 8. You might be able to cancel more than one time. So if you look here, I have an 8 on the top and an 8 on the bottom. I can divide both of those as well by 8. That's going to leave 1, 1. So all I have here are a bunch of 1s. So when I multiply, it's just going to be 1 on the top and 1 on the bottom, and that's going to leave me a 1. Now just to show you, I could have done this. If I wanted to cancel, oops, hang on for a second, let me check my time. Okay. If I wanted to cancel out the 8 and the 96 first, I could have done that. So dividing by 8, I get 12, but then I have a 12 and a 12 here, so I can divide by 12. And see, I'll get to the same spot. I'm going to still have 2 negatives or a positive. So make sure you cancel everything fully. Okay, let's go with, I'm going to try to cram this all in one video because that will save a lot of time. Negative 4PQ times, yeah, 1 over negative 2. Here, this is multiplication. Let's go ahead and put that over a 1. You have some letters, but this is really, you have 2 different variables, that's all. There's no difference really between this one and these ones up here. There's 2 negatives in the whole problem, so that tells me it's going to be a positive answer, so I can kind of ignore those. Goodbye. On this diagonal, I can divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. I still have a PQ, so across the top it's 2 times P times Q all over 1, which is 2PQ. All right, turning the page. Wait, what example was that? Number 5. Okay, so number 6. Example 6. I'm really pushing my time here, but 1/2 negative 16a plus 20. All right, in this one, notice there's a plus sign. This is distributing. It's not just multiplying, so this is what I'm doing. The only difference is you're distributing with the fraction in the front. So 1/2 times negative 16a, I'm going to write out the individual steps. And then once you see what's going on, you can kind of bypass the middle step. It's 1/2 times negative 16a plus 1/2 times 20. So there's my middle distribute step. These are 2 different multiplication problems. So I'm going to put this over a 1. I can cancel on this diagonal, dividing by 2. And so the first piece, ignoring this, gives me a negative 8a. So you just have to work carefully and slowly. On the second multiplication problem, I can divide by 2, and I get a 10. So you can see when you distribute, the 2's on the bottom, so it's going to cancel with this number. So negative 16 divided by 2 is negative 8a, plus 2 goes into 20 10 times. Don't try to add these together because they're not like terms. Ooh, I'm going to do one more. Please, phone, do not die on me right now. Okay, negative 1/5 times negative 45c. Katie, what time is it? Plus 10d.
Almost 2.
Okay, I've got a meeting at 2, so I gotta be careful. All right, this is distributing again. I'll write out my middle step so you can see it, but just looking at this, the first distribute step, first the negative times negative will be positive. 5 will go into 45 9 times, so I'll get a 9c right there. Cover that up. The second distribute step will give me a negative 2d. All right, now I have negative 1/5 times negative 45c plus negative 1/5 times 10d. Cancel. 9. 2 negatives make a positive, so there's my 9c plus, put it over 1, dividing by 5. 1 negative sign in the second one. Negative 2d. You have to watch those signs. Those don't add together. And there you go.